but instead the supervisor's office went up from 123,298 to 124,179.
I'm not going to single out our assistant.
Oh, no, no. We're not
special
going to
treatment
single out
regarding
our assistant.
non-managerial,
Who's our assistant? Who's our assistant?
Liz, if you don't know who our assistant is.
Oh, Nancy Kalpfeld.
That's outrageous.
Oh, no, 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 because you call her your own secretary. That's why. Whenever you look at anything, Nancy Kalpfeld is a secretary. I apologize. Very good. Okay, so let's see. No, no, wait.
If this is a vendetta, Liz, let's do it later.
How is it a vendetta when I'm pointing out something that's just factual? It's a vendetta when I point out factual things, but it's okay when he points out something else. Is it a vendetta that the town supervisor cut the town assessor's office from $159,686 to zero when he knew that the county couldn't do it and you were going to all lose your homestead exemption except for the condominium?
It's not true that they can't do it.
It's true that they're not doing it. They can't do it. They don't have the individual. They don't have an individual. They don't have an individual who can perform the services in the county. They didn't budget. And by the way, everyone, just in case you're wondering, if the county took it over, they're not going to charge us zero. They're going to charge us money for that. That's what is interesting about this. What the supervisor pretends, what he wants you all to, I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what the town, he allocated 25. Can you imagine the county saying that they're only going to charge us $25,000 to hire a special assessor to come in and perform the work of our assessor, who otherwise, and her assistant, who otherwise took $159,000. It's not dial down the hysteria, guys, anymore. It's please make your point. So let's. That's the new mantra. Please make your point, Mrs. Hudak.
Ms. Hudak, may I have the floor now?
$159,686,000. Let's see what else we cut here. I mean, you know,
Humane Society.
Yes, the Humane Society. Let's not forget that. We cut completely the Humane Society. We have to keep the control of dogs in here because it's state mandated. So we went from $62,425 to $24,425. Yet we kept a 2% increase for the supervisor's office.
Okay,
so, I mean, you know, when you really get down to it, everyone, and what we're talking about here is the budget link with Federal Consumer Price Index. Remember, that's the topic of the moment. It's completely ridiculous, and it's as ridiculous as responding to a, you know, and I finally found this. This is the audit response from Chia Batoni when it said, "Good afternoon, Supervisor Wrights and members of the town board. We received the attached letter." That's the supervisor's letter, the response. And I want to verify that this is the town's board's response to our draft audit report. The letter does not address the specifics of our report and its findings. Please refer to our booklet responding. You see, Mr. Bach, that's what I mean. You know, you said civility and listening to people. They're not listening to me. Please refer to our booklet responding to an OSC audit report for guidance. Please let me know if this is the letter you want to be included as the response to our audit of the town, or if the town board intends to send another letter which addresses the report. The response to the report is due on October 15th, which she subsequently corrected to October 18th. Okay. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, that's the kind of, like, you know, the smoke and mirrors when you look at something that says budget linked with Federal Consumer Price Index. It's sort of like pie in the sky stuff.
Okay, item 12 is the 2011.
We really need to make certain that we don't have these fanciful notions and these, you know, smoke and mirrors, because the problem is we have an issue.
Ms. Hudak? Item 12 is the 2011 budget linked to the Federal Consumer Price Index, and I find that this town board needs to, with the budget at least, have some sort of guideline, and to have the budget follow the consumer price index is at least something we as a town board can follow. However, obviously you can tell it's not the majority's rule, but there needs to be some sort of innovative approach and practice to doing this budget, and I applaud you for looking at how we can move the assessing practice over to the county level so we do not have a duplication of services. I applaud you for looking at the Putnam Humane Society. You know, we all love dogs and the control of dogs, but when you finally look at the bottom line numbers, and we've done this for 2 years now, we have on a town level collected X amount of dogs, and this year I think we're up to maybe 20 or 30. The bottom line is that it comes out to about $2,500 per dog. Now, when you cut your funding from $62,000 down to $24,000, that makes a lot more sense, because we don't need to spend $2,000 per dog when we bring them in. You know, as you have always said, that's almost like Beverly Hills prices for the little poodle coming in here. But, you know, we need to have the dog control in this town. We can have it at a reasonable cost, okay? Duplication of services. In this budget, there's lots of duplication. If we can have innovative approaches to save, once again, the town taxpayers, who all they want to hear is, at the end of the day, what is the tax increase going to be? You know, we as responsible individuals have to make some tough choices, and sometimes they're not, you know, nice. But that's the difference of, you know, trying to save a couple dollars and being banged over the head. I like to be nice to everybody, but you know, sometimes it takes tough choices to sit in this seat, and that's what we need to do.
Right. As far as though, I mean, the problem is, as far as the assessment services, if Michael went to the county in April and had a discussion, maybe this is something that could have been done. But you don't go to them after you submit your budget, and after the county submits their budget, and then say, we want you to do this, when they don't have the resources and already did their budget.
Well, we've talked about it for 2 years, not 2 months.
Well, the county, that's not the letter that I saw from the
I
county.
understand the letter, and there was a larger, the larger issue is that we're a hold harmless, the town of Southeast is a hold harmless jurisdiction, so that if there's a shortfall due to property tax revenues accruing to the town, the county pays us and the county handles it. That's how it works.
Okay.
If we did not have a tax department, then by law, the county has to take that over. We might be on the hook for some component of the compensation for the assessor designated as a town agent at the county level. My budget provides for that. The county budget last year provided for that, because they were hoping for consolidation last year, and it was defeated by this town board 3-2. So we were left with one town tax department, which has 2 components: one town tax department, one county tax department, and that's one too many. This is the duplication of services that the New York State Office of Real Property Services recommends be eliminated at the municipal level, and that tax assessment services and so forth, tax receiving, be handled at the county level, and that's why they recommend it.
And this duplication of services, you understand, our tax assessor does the tax assessment for the Village of Brewster, because the Village of Brewster does not have a tax assessor. So we're already doing the duplication there. We need to consolidate some of this and to save some of the monies in the town.
That's right.
They're paying it.
Yes, Andy?
And, you know, a few weeks ago, we talked about consolidating the Village of Brewster into the town of Southeast to eliminate dual expenses. Now we're talking about, basically, why don't we just disband the town and let the county take over all of our departments, disband the town board, because they have a county legislature. What do we need you guys for? Okay? You know, if we're not going to be an autonomous organization with somebody assessing our properties who knows our properties, there is no county assessor. There's a county tax collector, you know, but there is no county assessor. You know, why don't you guys just stand up and say, you know, let's disband the town board and let the county take us over?
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you, Andy, for your point. Item 13, 2011 possible revenue from MS4 reimbursement. Graham is with us this evening. Thanks, Graham, for your patience.
Had fun yet?
Could I
The
recommend
order
to
for
the
the
town
day is
board again?
obnoxious and no fun.
I mentioned this last week, that if we have members of the audience waiting, if we could at least coordinate with the supervisor and the town clerk, so these individuals don't have to sit here for hours upon it, and nothing seems to get done once again. So I would ask the majority of the town board to please consider that going forward, because Graham has been sitting here patiently for about 3 hours now.
It's on the gravy train.
With
So, so you want to
If
pay
I-
the great? Thank you for confirming that
Dwight,
you're
if I
playing the
could
gravy
answer
train.
that?
Thank
Actually,
you
I was-
again for
No,
confirming.
Graham has the
If I could
floor.
answer that?
I was grading my
Graham has
papers,
the
so
floor.
I
It's late.
appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Please
confirming that.
proceed.
Sure. The supervisor requested me to be present tonight to talk to you about a possible use of a fund that's a county fund for stormwater retrofits and looking at ways that the town could be reimbursed for some of the costs that the town has historically incurred for some of the improvements. As some of you may know, there is a fund that is maintained by the county. It's called the East of Hudson Water Quality Improvement Fund. By various estimates, it has anywhere from $11 to $14 million. It's kind of hard to get an accurate number. That fund was established as part of the Watershed Memorandum of Agreement and was to be used for the single purpose of providing water quality improvements throughout the towns and villages in the watershed. To date, there haven't been very many use of those funds. The town does have two outstanding grants, one of about $215,000 and another of about $435,000, which work has largely been done, and the town will seek reimbursement for those funds. I understand that the funds might have already been included in the budget. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's
The budget being the reference to the budget for 2010.
2010.
Which means that that $650,000 is not available for 2011.
Okay.
Okay?
But it was in the 2010 budget, so we should make every effort to get that
Yeah, that's on its
reimbursed.
way.
And,
Those two elephants are on their way, but what I was hoping for were additional elephants
right.
with respect to prior years and so forth.
Sure. And I think what I'd like to do is speak to that. As part of the intermunicipal agreement that the town entered with the other Putnam County municipalities, creating the Putnam County MS4 Coordinating Committee, we have been working for several years on creating a retrofit plan which would achieve what we call bubble compliance for all of the participating towns. That is, that if the coordinating committee was documented to be in compliance, then each of the individual towns, member towns, would also be in compliance. That coordinating committee developed a 5-year plan for retrofits, submitted that to the DEC earlier this year, or actually in December of last year, has been working with the DEC over the course of this year to provide further detail on that. In summer, I can't remember, I think it was August, the coordinating committee went to the Putnam County Legislature and presented a proposal to use the East of Hudson Water Quality Funds to fund a whole set of improvements throughout the towns in the coordinating committee. Those funds would then be used for improvements that are scheduled for years 2 to 5 of the program. Rich Williams from Patterson, who's the town planner up there, who is the chair of the committee, set forth a proposal to use up to $8 million of that East of Hudson Water Quality Funds for those improvements, leveraged with an additional $4 million from potential grants to be received from New York State and the federal government. Those funds, those $4 million of funds, are still speculative. The $8 million of funds for the East Watershed is still speculative. It requires Putnam County legislative approval. There are two things that concern me with the thought, and I give credit to the supervisor for coming up with this idea because it's a creative way of thinking of things. Two concerns I have is, one, that the county legislature might not look kindly upon funding retroactively certain improvements, so it might not work that way. The second thing I would be concerned about is moving away from bubble compliance and looking at individual compliance and individual use of those limited funds. Although it does sound like a large amount of money, the $11 to $14 million, if not controlled well, could quickly disappear. And we're looking for the biggest bang for the buck in the implementation of these programs. So my recommendation would not be to seek reimbursement for improvements that have already been done, because I don't think there's a high level of success. And there's also the possibility that we might shoot ourselves in the foot by stymieing the efforts of the coordinating committee and going in as one entity. If we don't have bubble compliance and the bubble bursts, then we're all left on the hook, and that could be a very costly and very difficult thing to comply with. I'll also bring up the fact that to receive those funds, the East of Hudson Water Quality Funds, there is a process by which the county legislature would seek any objections from any of the participating members of the Memorandum of Agreement. So the county would have to send out letters to New York State DEC, New York City DEP, and each of the individual towns. And if any one of those parties decided to object, then it would be kicked off to the Watershed Partnership Council to make an ultimate decision. So it would be a difficult process if there were an objection. So I think it's not an easy fix, and I can certainly understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but I don't know if it would be the right avenue to pursue at this time. We're certainly looking for any way that we can get additional funding for the stormwater program, whether it's the retrofit